If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard in Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to PWZ. This is Rick, along with Andy, and joining us once again, the legendary Beast of New England, Bull Dredd. What's going on?
Round two.
Round two. What's going on with everybody today? How's this weather? We're preparing for this gigantic storm in the Northeast.
And I was sitting on the couch playing with myself, then I had to do this podcast.
Sorry to inconvenience you.
The image.
That's what's
an image in my head. Thanks a lot,
that's
man.
what us single men do.
Yeah, right. I mean, so last time you just told me you just watched what was it? YouTube and Pornhub, I think, was the last conversation we had. I see nothing wrong with this.
Nothing wrong with that. Whatever. I got to keep the pipes clean. You know what I mean?
That's right. So January, was it 19th? Paradise Alley is running their first ever iPPV.
No, January 2nd.
January 2nd? Oh, man, I got the dates mixed up. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And this is your 20th anniversary, correct?
January 2nd, 2001 is going to be the exact same day that we're having the pay-per-view is on my 20th anniversary that I walked into this business.
That's awesome. And you'll also be defending that Paradise Alley Intercontinental title against the Mad Russian Maxim Morozov.
Yeah, the last match, I got myself disqualified, but he got his stipulations now. If I get disqualified or counted out, I lose the title.
Oh, no.
Brony.
I know, right? That's like some sissy stuff right there. I'm sorry. Those are old school rules. I'm looking forward to this. So, I normally attend all the shows. This is I'm gonna have to buy the pay-per-view, lay the money down, and I'm gonna be talking about it on here. If you want to come on afterwards as well. So I think this is gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm all down for it. Because,
yeah.
I just love. I love talking about the business. So
yeah.
I don't hold back. I talk about my experiences and everything that made me into who I am and brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. Andy, do you have any questions you wanted to ask?
I've never met Bull before, so I'm looking forward to tonight.
Oh, you're in for a ride, baby.
I've heard a lot about you. So how's it been as an independent wrestler over the last, 9 months or so? I mean, I'm sure your bookings are down, things are a little tougher. How you making it through?
Well, put it this way. In the beginning of the pandemic, I was just, working with Paradise Alley and defending my title and having fun. And once the pandemic hit, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't miss wrestling or I didn't miss performing. Been doing it for so long, I actually started contemplating that I don't need to do this anymore. So I started, going other avenues of keeping myself occupied. Physically going to the gym, and gyms were closed, so I started physically doing stuff at home, keeping myself active. Push-ups, sit-ups, walking. I'm at peace. I'm at peace in the business. I think I've accomplished everything that I wanted to do. It's not everything I wanted to do, but I think when you're in peace in life and peace outside of the business, especially personally and professionally, you can walk away happy. So I was like, if my career ended tomorrow, I'd be happy. So that's how I feel.
You're talking about working out and doing all that stuff. You lost 50 pounds, man. You're looking good.
Yeah, last year at this time I was 288, and I'm about an estimate 240 right now. So people ask me, how did I do it? I'm like, by believing. I believed I could do it because I did it once, and I started doing the fasting diet and keeping myself active. Like just today, I did 400 push-ups, and I scattered them throughout the day. I did 250. I got home. I'm like, shit, I still got to do 50 more push-ups. I ended up doing 150 more. So
Wow.
it's a mindset. It's if you think about it, and this is what I try to tell people, even my kids, and the one thing I learned is that you have a goal, concentrate on the goal, don't concentrate on the work, because then you're going to get discouraged really fast.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. And that's just anything in life, not just wrestling, but stuff anything you want to accomplish. Set a goal.
Right.
Worry about the goal, not the work, because at the end, the work was easy.
Right. That's something I'm going to have to get into, because I've been struggling with the weight, especially since COVID started.
Well, listen, we're fat Italians, and I'm happy.
I think the only non-Italian here is this guy right here, Andy. He's always busting my chops about being Italian.
Italian.
Oh, I forgot. That's right.
No, you really quick, when you have something funny, I'm from Long Island, New York, and now I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. And so I still, especially when I get mad, that New York still comes out of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like getting a little New Yorker in me, starts coming out.
Right.
And people always say, you Italian or what? And I'm like, no, I'm not Italian. I'm just from New York. You know what I mean? So I'm honorary Italian, I guess, Rick. I don't know.
Well, you can't be Italian by injection. That's out of the question.
Hey, Rick and I, that only happened one time. It was Rick's fault. I'm sorry.
So what?
Listen, you could take a shot of Anisette or Sambuca, then I'll count that as injection. You know what I mean?
I like this guy, Rick. I really like him here.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, the one thing I tell everybody is, and I think, because of where I am in life, especially in wrestling, is I never changed who I am. You'll see me out in the crowd, I'm going to be me. I'm in the ring. Yeah, it's a hyped up version of me. But, this time in my career, Sexy Beast, Bull Dredd, Mike, it's all combined into one person right now. And that's the awesome thing about wrestling, is that people become the best gimmicks by becoming themselves.
Right. You're one of the more genuine people out there when, in between the matches and the, intermission and stuff. You come out and, you interact with the fans. It's real cool. The kids love you. Everybody loves you, dude, when you're out there.
I love the attention. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a boner from it. You know what I mean? But I look at it as positive attention, because we are all fans. I was a kid once. People forget they were kids. It's become such a thing about money. Like, oh, why you hang out with the fans? They came to fucking see you. Why not be their friends? I mean,
right.
Rick, I think you know me personally. It's like I'm the same person on social media that I am in real life.
Right. You're a very positive person on social media, and you post a lot of inspirational stuff. And don't think, I don't pay attention to that, because some of it's very inspiring. It's fun to read. It's good to read, and I actually, quite enjoy reading a lot of this stuff you post. And it's sometimes, I'll not be having a great day, but I'll read some of that stuff, and it really does make someone feel good. So it's good.
It does. I get a lot of comments, and especially if I run into somebody. Like, I don't know if you saw the post I put up last week about a 21-year-old kid that stopped me at the gym. I met him previously, and what he said to me, yeah. And it's like, if you're able to leave a positive impact on somebody, like, because you never know who you're going to meet at any given time of any given day of the day of your life. It's like, what are the most important thing that people remember the most are words, because they'll never be unheard. You can never unhear them. And I was a kid once. I was afraid of my own fucking shadow. I mean, now I talk to myself all day. I mean, and I'll just whatever. But I mean, I'll get shy at some point. Like, I'll still have my insecurities. We all do, But I feel that because I have the platform that I do, I put that out there. People think I'm like, I love attention. I'm just insecure. The attention needs to be on me. It's not about my insecurities. It's about that I have that attention, and I have the most powerful tool is the dream that I accomplished. Why can't I teach somebody else to do the same thing?
Right.
That's the way you have to look at it. I'm no superstar. You see me. I mean, I work indie shows. I don't make millions of dollars, but you know what? Tank, your son looked at me as a fucking superstar. So how good does that make me feel?
Right. Yeah, that was I know you share this video ever so often, and that just, that really means a lot to me, and it was because it was quite enjoyable moment. I think that was around the time I first started to get to know you, really. I mean, you'd been around for years, and obviously I'd seen you around for years from going to shows, and I think that was the first night we actually kind of, I don't know if that was the first night we met. I'm sure we interacted over the years when you worked like Northeast and other shows, but it had been so long.
I try to interact with fans and people that like follow me. I'll try to put the name to the face, when I finally meet them. So some people come up to me, I follow us on Facebook, and I'm like, what's your name? You meet so many faces, you don't know names.
You actually saw me standing outside that evening, came up to me, and that was awesome. That was it says a lot. You know what I mean? That who your fans are.
I remember you trying to grab my cock.
You had experience too.
I don't think so.
I believe it.
Jesus.
So, Andy, how long you used to do a wrestling podcast, or?
Yeah, a few years ago, I had a AYP wrestling podcast, and if you want to go back, way back in around 2000 or so, I used to have an actual phone hotline based out of New York. Way back in the day. So
do they even do that anymore?
No, I don't think so. But so you brought up
about a sexy 35.
Yeah, we'll say 35. Yeah, sure. Okay, maybe a dog years, but no.
He's actually older than us.
All right, thanks, Rick.
No, I thought we were all about the same age.
Well, only by never mind. 2 years at the most, I think.
All right.
Don't call me grandpa.
Sorry.
So it's
but you were talking about growing up a fan, and a couple things that come to mind. First of all, it's like one thing about the wrestling business that's funny is there seems to be this it's almost like cool to make fun of the fans when you're inside the business, like the marks. When in reality, everybody was a mark before they ever got in the business. How do you feel about that?
There's different versions of marks. Believe me, the way I look at it is I remember when I first started training at Jason's school, and Joel Gertner used to come down because he used to live in Connecticut. And so
you're a Jason Knight. You're a Jason Knight guy.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yep. And me, Mercedes Martinez, Velvet Sky, and the only other active is Joseph Von Schmidt. He used to be go under Pat Gunner. Only 4 people that actually made a name of themselves out of the school. So Joel Gertner used to come down. I mean, guys from ECW used to come down and train with us, but he defined different versions of marks. You got marks, and you got marks, and you got fucking marks. But you got some of them that I put it this way. How do I best describe it? A celebrity. You see a celebrity, at a diner somewhere, and you got the casual fan who'll go up to him, introduce themselves. Then you got the one that's all in starstruck, like they got a freaking boner or they're freaking drooling,
Like Rick.
I think,
like
the same thing. I think you're considering wrestling fans because you got some of them that I did shows in upstate New York in freaking boondocks for Northeast Wrestling, and people were in their 60s, 70s asking me, "Did you ever meet the Undertaker?" They were still to believe it's real,
right?
So there's different levels of. It's more of a respect thing because I've met people that are in awe of me, and I'm like, dude, I'm a regular jabroni. But at the same time, I try to put myself back in their shoes when I was their age. Some of them are older than me. They'll be like, hey, you ever meet John Cena or Undertaker? And I'm like, dude, I'm not at that level, But I try to respect people as much as I can. But some of them just believe, I don't know what world they live in, So
right. I think that a lot of people, like you're saying, some people don't realize that there's wrestling outside of the mainstream. You know what I mean? And I remember you're talking about Joel Gertner when he was in Connecticut. He used to run that. Was it MXW? Was the promotion?
Yeah, it was before my time. Maybe around when I started. Yeah.
I remember
used to run when I actually retired for 3 years. I walked away for 3 years, and I think that was in between the time he was running.
I remember going to a show. I think it was either in Meriden or Wallingford, Connecticut, and I remember it was like a VFW hall, but there was a gas station next to us. So we went in there to get snacks, and I just remember the attendant asking me if Triple H was going to be at this show. So, like, me and my friend kind of laughed. We were like, no, it's just
you see what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
So I thought that was funny.
But another question about you growing up as a fan. So I guess we're all within the same age group, let's say. I guess I've been called out as the old fart of the group, but we're in the same age group.
Sorry.
Thanks, Rick. Who was it? Like for me, I'll give you an example. For me, I remember falling asleep on the couch, and I woke up in the middle of the night on Saturday night, and Superfly Jimmy Snuka was on my screen barking with Captain Lou Albano next to him. Who was the first guy that got your attention?
Well, I believe if I try to think back, like I remember my dad used to watch wrestling. I can swear to God it was on the Spanish channel. And all I used to remember was some dude, some worker, long hair, but used to wear furry boots. And I don't know why I keep remembering that, but I believe, like, I remember when I actually, what I remember wrestling-wise is people that I remember like Hogan and Iron Sheik. It was right after that where I started, when I was able to watch TV on my own, and I found Saturday mornings. That's when I started falling in love. I fell in love with NWA, and the Horsemen is what kept me. I don't know. NWA, I always found it more entertaining to me at the time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still love WWF and like Saturday Night's Main Event, like the whole package, AWA, World Class. The whole thing. But NWA was what kept you, and I think you guys will, agree with me. I don't know. They had that niche where it's like something would happen towards the end of the program, and they'll cut out. You got to tune in next week to see the last, whatever happened. Nobody else did that. Maybe they did. I don't remember. But Hogan. I think that was about the boom of wrestling. It was Hogan and that, rock and wrestling is what I remember. My first, that I think back and remember the most. But NWA is what kept me more of a wrestling fan.
When I was growing up, I always thought like the NWA looked more realistic than WWF did, so that's why I kind of preferred
characters.
That's why I preferred watching it. Everybody had like a real sounding name, even if it was like a work name, like a gimmick name. But it seemed like and it was like a darkened arena. You're laughing, but it just seemed like it was just presented. It just presented more like a sport than the cartoon WWF did.
Think about it, and I just thought about it now. It was like the ECW of the time when it was Monday Night Wars, if you think about it. You know what I mean? Because it was more realistic, what you said. And I believe the athletes were better, the workers were better.
Absolutely.
Storylines were better.
They were definitely way better. And I think the one thing about the WWF was it was about merchandising and getting that little kid's attention. You're making the toys, you advertise the toys on TV, on the program, the kids are watching it, and the kid goes to the parents saying, I want that. Next thing you know, they're in toys. So that's how WWF kind of got to that level through the little kids. Whereas, like I said, I think the NWA, not that it wasn't for kids, but it was a little bit grittier and made for, it had been around a long time. It was just made for the regular person as opposed to...
Well, like you said, WWF at the time was aiming that our target audience were kids. All the other companies, you could tell, were the older people. And I truly miss, the grandmas, in the front row clapping, getting all into it. You don't see that no more. That's gone. And that's the glory of wrestling. That's the golden era of wrestling that's gone.
And one of the things was like you'd watch, say, World Class, like you said, in the Sportatorium, you'd always see the same people in the front row. They'd always buy the same tickets, like for months or years at a time. There was always like that same guys because they lived in Texas, and it was just there's something special about watching World Class too. I mean, besides the Von Erichs,
it was more. It's like watching the NWA on on TBS on Saturday nights. You know,
Right.
it was more how do you say, more intimate because it was smaller.
Right.
But it's like once they start trying to get bigger, you know, you start trying to changing to make more money, and what happens? You know, you start spending more money, then what happens? You start losing money, and so many more problems. You know,
Right. Right.
but that's one thing I'm not going to do. Everybody asks me, like, Halo, you know, they call me for my last name. You know, why don't you open up a wrestling school, be a trainer? I'm like, dude, you don't understand. That takes money and time. I don't have that. You know, I'm just
The renting of a building is not cheap. Buying a ring isn't cheap either.
Oh, insurance too.
And yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I'm a nobody. I don't want to be tagged on somebody I trained. You know, there's guys in the indies now that guys that went to slick school, and I've had a hand in them, you know, but I don't want to be labeled as a trainer, you know, they're a trainer, you know.
That brings another question up. How do you feel? I don't know how Jason was as a trainer. I don't know what style he used, but traditionally speaking, the old school style was you kind of got to beat down until they
never got a beat down.
Right. And now it's you never got a beat down.
No.
But you know what I'm saying?
Zombie, if you ask Ron Zombie, the reason why is because I was like a sponge. People that don't get it right away or start being cocky and shit like that, that's when they get the beat down.
Right. But you know, that's the stereotypical story you always hear. You know, oh, they were tough. They made you, work out till you threw up. Now these young kids, they go into these schools and they're babied and they're treated like prima donnas, because they want to get their money. They don't want the kids to go home and not come back.
Yeah, some guys are like that.
And it's a very sensitive generation now. Like these kids, they're, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Jason wasn't strict. In the beginning, I think he was, because he was opening a year before I started. We had grueling classes training-wise, but, looking back, like, I didn't, have to do no 500 squats or shit like that. I mean, there were some nights I didn't want to go because, I chickened out, but, I never quit or anything like that. I walked away from the business because I started seeing the things I didn't like and I didn't want to become, Plus, I was getting married. I got married. My daughter was on the way. And, I took my priorities over the business. But, once it's in your blood, it doesn't go away. So it was a perfect time to come back when she was 3. And I've been back ever since. Late 2006. So.
What made you come back?
I started losing weight. I started trimming down, and I ran into one of my buddies, and Mikey Milano, and he invited me to the show. There's a period. It's like a stage of things goes on. You walk away, you missed it, then you start hating it because you can't be involved, and just things work out for I'm sure you know what I mean. Like let's say you have a band you stopped listening to, a record you stopped listening to. Next thing you know, you hear it on the radio, and then you hear it on TV or whatever. And what happens? You start falling in love, and you start listening to the album again. It's the same thing.
Right.
But, it's just different stages of my career. I truly didn't fall in love with the business until, I don't know, I guess my lifestyle changed and kind of like everything it took to stay in shape, the hard work. I mean, I bloomed later on in life. What could I say?
Right.
We all do.
Andy?
Yes.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I just want to also ask you, are you a fan of the current product? And if so, what is your preference?
I currently don't watch the product. If I had cable, I would. I'll watch stuff occasionally on YouTube or whatever. Other than that, the business has changed for me. I don't watch it. It doesn't entertain me at all. I was watching NWA Power for a little while, but then after a while, I just kind of stopped watching. I'll tend to watch older stuff more than anything.
All right.
But I don't have the network. I don't know. I just, but that's kind of like, I guess the evolution is I'm not a diehard wrestling fan like I once was. Not that I'm not a wrestling fan. It's, I just don't watch nothing. I can't because I find myself critiquing it. And I'm like, damn, what happened to like fucking Don Morocco versus Jimmy Snuka? I'm like, that was entertaining. This is not entertaining to me. But that's us. That's the generation. That's what we grew up on. Just like baseball, football, basketball, hockey.
Right.
The dynamics of all sports has changed, and it just doesn't entertain me anymore.
I was never really in the business part of wrestling, but I get what you're saying as far as like, it changing and you find yourself critiquing it, comparing it to the current product. I still do watch. I watch a lot of stuff, current stuff, but I do compare it to like older stuff, and I have a lot to complain about. So,
not you.
I will put it this way. I mean, I look at wrestling now as movies, shows, music. Everything has already been done.
That's true. Well, that's the other thing. It's like with movies, everything, including wrestling, everybody tries to outdo each other. The current product tries to outdo previous versions of the sport. We had a different generation of high flyers when we were growing up, and now it's how many flips could you do before landing, or get what I'm saying? So it's like it's definitely critique worthy. It's definitely there's a lot wrong with it and they wonder why fans are dropping off. It's stuff like that. I'm sorry if it makes sense or not. I'm
no, yeah. I mean, AEW is geared more towards the older generation, maybe the
I think
older kids. But I mean, they're targeted as kids. I mean, no matter what.
Yeah.
But AEW was like the alternative to WWE, but also NXT is the alternative. I mean, this is one thing I used to find really funny. People used to bitch about Monday Night Raw and how it was like it got boring, and people were promoting, Raw alternative free wrestling on YouTube, and I'm like, these are the same guys that are trying to get to WWF. So it's like, why are you telling people not to watch the product, to watch your product? But that's where your goal, that's where you want to be.
Right.
I don't know. That was through the state of wrestling where I started hating people. What they were doing, the GoFundMes and try to raise money because they need a ring or I don't know, whatever. Social media ruined everything.
Some backyarder breaking their legs because they were backyarding, so stuff like that.
But Rick, you talked about like what I like to call the flippy dippy stuff. It's like how many high spots can you get into a match? But another problem I have as a fan with the current product is the false finishes. You got to have 3 finishers before you finally get the guy. Like back in the day, Ray Stevens pile drove you. You were done. It was over. Superfly comes off the top. It's over.
You go to indie shows. You go to indie shows, and I'm sorry, like you probably see the first 3 matches. You're going to see probably 10, 20 super kicks before, you know what I mean? And that's just like the 3rd match, you know what I mean? There's still 5 other matches to go. You're going to see a whole hell of a lot more, It's just...
Well,
between that, the Canadian Destroyer, like all these moves are like, it's like they're so overdone. Like now it's just like guys like Ricky Morton and Dustin Rhodes are coming out using Canadian Destroyer. That was not part of their repertoire. It's just... You get what I'm saying, I think, guys.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. Look, take a 20-year-old, okay?
Yep.
All right, you've been to a lot of the Paradise Alley shows. You've seen me work plenty of times, okay? Take a 20-year-old. And don't put yourself... no, you know what? I don't even use that example. Think of a 20-year-old right now. Who would they rather watch?
Mm-hmm.
Me or Flip Gordon? Like, who would they rather watch?
I get what you're saying. I mean, it's just because it's that generation, that's what they got into. It's just, even like high flyers when we were kids, and I think Andy and I were just talking about this, I think yesterday or the day before, that high flyers were different when we were growing up. It was just a drop kick or a flying crossbody was considered a high flyer, and now it's all these, how many moves. you can do outside of the ring, flips and all that other stuff. It's just, I get what you're saying. It's an excitement factor, but it's like, what happens if that guy lands and breaks his neck? It's happened before,
Well,
doing these maneuvers.
Well, like you said, there's so many high spots in a match. I feel that the anticipation is gone. Like
Right.
you're going to be, what he's going to be doing, and that's
Right.
because of the story. Like you're not left. I feel like some of the old school veterans are the ones that still carry the psychology. I'm not
Right.
saying that some guys don't know psychology, but I feel psychology is gone because the one thing the company wants, the promoter wants, is to make money. So obviously
Right.
he's going to use guys and put matches out there to want people to come and watch them do what they do. I mean, why do you think people pay money to watch LeBron James?
Right.
Do you want to see him do whatever to score? Well, I mean, put Magic Johnson at his prime versus LeBron James. This generation, who do you think they're going to want to watch?
Right. I think
Okay.
LeBron, I would assume. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because he could dunk and do whatever. Magic Johnson, you didn't see him fucking dunking. He was known for doing assists.
Right.
So I like to use the analogies of a lot of different things to explain what wrestling's become, and then like it's the same thing with like trying to give somebody advice. Like to say I use Flip Gordon as because I was thinking of what's his name, Flash Gordon. That's who I was thinking of. But like say I'm just going to use your son as an example. I could tell him. Well, see, he knows who I am. But look, I'm going to take a 15-year-old kid. Right. I could give him the same advice that Flash Gordon will give, but he likes Flash Gordon. He's going to be like, oh, he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
And I'm going to be like, I've been in the business 20 years.
But he
doesn't know that.
Right.
I don't know. It's the perspective of, I don't know. I try to look at it as a whole.
Right.
But sometimes I just get this feeling it's like it was like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. He gets blown up every week, but then he's back. He's like no selling it within 10 seconds. It's like you can't put him away.
Right. I think that a lot of that started with like the Cena era too, right? Am I wrong?
Don't blame Cena for everything.
I didn't. I wasn't blaming him. I said it started.
I'm a Cena. Era. I like Cena.
Well, I mean. When I think of a wrestler, I think of Ric Flair, and I think the generation of the last 20 years, they think of a wrestler, he wears jeans, shorts, and sneakers to the ring.
Like I said, I've never was a fan of his in-ring work but I always said that outside of the ring, like the charity work he does, it seems like a perfectly fine human being, a good human being, and he did a lot of work for the kids. I just didn't like the character on television. But I've always said that he was a good person outside of that.
He's Italian. Plus, I did a few shows with his father, so he was a good dude.
Yeah, but Dredd doesn't sound Italian to me. That name Dredd doesn't sound Italian.
Well, Jason gave me my name. He called me Mike Dredd. I'm like, all right, and it was maybe about a month later. He called me Bull. I don't know, and it's just always been the same.
I've never really
changed it.
Except for the sexy beast, you changed it.
The sexy beast. Yeah, when I was whipping around the Rajal, but you know what I mean. But listen, people make fun of the sexy beast, but I look at it like this: what happened when Hulk Hogan turned NWO? His career skyrocketed. That's what it did to me. That's what I believe. But after a while, it kind of got stale. I started getting fatter again. I grew the beard, getting to get inked up. It didn't work no more. But now everything works out for a reason. God is watching over me. I believe in everything that the universe works in my favor for a reason. You got to believe in it. Things don't change if you don't believe in it.
That's true. Yeah. We got to try that. But anyways, I don't know, Andy. What else you got?
We got to try that. Who are you talking to? We got to try that.
Shut up. I'm listening to him, taking his advice. Okay.
I'm soaking in the wisdom here.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say here.
So Bold, if you could say your favorite wrestler of all time, who is it? Not to work with, but as a fan, as somebody who has been watching. Who?
Well, I mean, obviously it's Ric Flair. I mean, I think people.
It's the greatest of all time.
Yeah. I think people got it, especially in the Sexy Beast. I used it a lot in my gimmick, with the strut, the woo, it just. But it started becoming a combination of everything. I mean, I could tell you, like, people at the last one all the time, who would be the one wrestler I would want to work, dead or alive? I would say Ric Flair, but then close second would be Arn Anderson.
That's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Yeah,
Arn. Yeah.
I'd rather watch an Arn Anderson match than anything that's on APW right now.
Yeah, but he's there, and he's I know he's managing Cody, but he's there giving his 40 years of wisdom that he had in the business. You know what I mean? And he was just, I'm telling you, Ric Flair might be the greatest of all time, but Arn Anderson's like a whole different level. Is my favorite of all time. I think I preferred watching Arn, but on paper and everything that Flair's done, he was the best of all time. Arn's just the greatest stuff. And the fact that when they got to wrestle each other, I kind of marked out a little bit, growing up. And they started feuding for that brief period. So
I think that was later on in his career.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was probably a year or so before. Was that before he broke his neck and then had to retire? That was like a year before, I think, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't long before. It wasn't long.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason why, like, I love Arn Anderson. Because he just made things believable. And there's one thing that I remember that always sticks out is, you remember when it was Lex Luger tagging with Barry Windham? This is before Windham became part of the Horsemen. It was
it was 1988. Prior to Luger had just turned babyface and it was right before Windham turned heel. Yeah.
Right. So it was a tag match with Windham and Luger versus Arn and Tully. And I just remember Luger going in for a double clothesline. He hit Tully, but Arn ducked. And he looked at the crowd and he was like this, right? What do you think is coming? He turned around, went like this. He turned around and what happened? He got clotheslined.
Right.
That's the stuff you don't see. And that's why I loved him. That's the greatest thing about being a heel. Doing stuff like that. That's
Who's your favorite tag partner of Arn Anderson's that he had over the years between Ole, Tully, Zbyszko?
Tully.
Yeah.
I love Tully. I mean, not against Arn, but it was, to me, I just like Tully is the best.
Yeah.
Like, I always think that original Four Horsemen will be the greatest one.
Yeah. I like I do like the Wyndham version a lot.
I like that too.
Yeah, that I mean, I think like a lot of people say that's like the greatest version, but I don't know. I do like the original, but the Wyndham version was like a whole different level for some reason.
Different level, and I think the storylines were better with the original, especially when they broke Dust's arm. They didn't really do stuff like that anymore after that version.
Yeah, there's no realism to professional wrestling. I'm sorry to say that. Like, as far as AEW is not going to do stuff like that, and WWE surely won't. You know what I mean? It's just so watered down, I guess.
And when they do, they don't sell it. They don't sell it long enough. The guy will be out for a week or two, and then he's back.
Right. There's no neck brace, or cast or anything the following week. It's just like, he's walking out of the thing just regular,
Well, I mean, think about it this way. What's the sense of freaking buying pay-per-view when pay-per-view is every Monday night? I mean, every Monday night is a pay-per-view event,
Right.
I mean,
it's the same roster between that Sunday pay-per-view and then Monday Night Raw. It's like, and it's not doing anything. Basically, the pay-per-views were supposed to be like the blow-off shows, you know what I mean, to the feud.
Yeah.
So, and it's not happening. It's just...
I mean, storylines come and go. They last, a month? And that's it.
Yeah. And when we were kids, they would go on for months and months and months. Maybe, was it Tommy Rich and Bud Sawyer went on for, over a year? So...
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's like... and I could be mistaken on this, but they just did the whole Sasha Bailey feud. They split them, and then they went right to a Hell in a Cell match. They didn't even have a feud to lead up to it. They went right into it.
Right. That was part of my argument with that the steel cage matches are always supposed to be the blow-off matches for the thing, the final match in the feud. And on that show, 3's cage matches happened right away. Like, that started the feud, and it didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see that. A 10-year-old doesn't see that.
Right.
They're just watching.
It's just there. Yeah.
And it's there, you know?
Yeah, it's just convenient for them. It's how it works in today's WWE, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's the problem with like WWE loses fans or older fans, I guess.
Well,
the steps away. Go ahead.
And you got to think too. It's like when we were kids and we saw we had the Four Horsemen, let's say, okay, and they come out. There was probably some of our grandfathers were probably like, "What are these four guys beating everybody up for? What's going on?" Right. You know what I mean? So I hate to use the word evolve, but it changes over time. And like Bull says, it's like it doesn't appeal to us, but this is what the kids know. That's all they know. That's all they grew up with. So the next generation, they'll be having very similar conversations, but they'll be praising.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the next generation, the wrestlers are going to be robots, and they're going to be controlled with handheld control, like a PS5. It'll be a PS10. Right. You can make your own real life fucking wrestler.
Right. I find it interesting the way wrestling is going as far as the mainstream wrestling, because WWE now, what was it, 2 months ago, a month ago, they cleared out their entire house show department, live events department.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how are they going to find talent? It's like right now, there's not a lot of, there's no indie shows running really. I mean, very few states are running shows. It's just going to be very difficult for them to keep an eye on independent talent to sign people to come in. I feel, at least, it's just.
But see, that's the thing. There's no real urgency to bring in new talent right now. They already have a feeder system that's loaded, and they're doing less events. They're only doing a couple of events a week now. So you know what I mean?
I truly miss the days where they had jobbers. I think
yes,
like Barry Horowitz.
Yeah, yes. I mean, they used to get big pops. You used to see them every week, and it kept storylines going. And I would have loved to be a fucking jobber just to get in there once.
But Bull, go ahead, dude.
Well, I'm just saying, I was going to say, what he said is you'd see an hour of squash matches, and that would help build the star. You know what I mean? Of somebody getting squashed, and then now it's just there's no way nobody's really getting built up that same way, and it's just I think it's lacking. That's what today's product is lacking. It's just the jobbers were helping make the stars. Now it's just everybody's put into a match, and I don't know if I'm trying to say it right, but
we talked about this a few times recently. Where it's like back in the day, not everybody was different, but back in the day, like Vince and WWF and Mid Atlantic, they would have the jobber matches, and you might get a main event, and the main event was like a so-so match. It wasn't even like an equal match.
Right.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't get Backlund Morocco as a TV main event. You wouldn't. But you might get, I don't know, who, Morocco against SD Jones or something. You know what I mean? And then there might be an angle that comes out of it. And then you'd buy your ticket to the house show because you wanted to see Backlund get his hands on Morocco to get revenge. Now, instead, you're getting that match every Monday night or every Friday night or Wednesday night, whatever, on TV.
Yeah.
And it's not doing anything to convince us to buy those tickets. Not that we're, obviously right now we can't, but you get what I'm saying. It's like we're not.
It's the pay-per-view. What's the pay-per-view mean?
Right. It's just I'm not even convinced to watch those. I watch those, just basically because there's another show on. It's not that I'm necessarily even interested most of the time. I'm just watching it because it's a Sunday night wrestling is on, basically, or Saturday night.
When I was still watching wrestling, I used just to look forward to promos. And when I actually stopped watching wrestling was a time when with CM Punk. I had just loved listening to him talk.
Yeah, great promos.
Yeah. That's what interested me most because I find as soon as it's done, boom, I switch channels. I don't even rarely go back. As soon as I see a match on, I go back to whatever I was watching.
Right, and then even still, WWE makes their talent. They're only allowed to work a certain style, do certain things on the regular television show because they have to save all the big stuff for the pay-per-views. And it's just so that's where you're supposed to get the quality match. They're basically told to work a TV style for the Mondays and the Fridays and all that other stuff. So they can't go. They can't go full out and do, put on a 5-star match on a Monday or Friday or Wednesday. They have to wait until the gigantic pay-per-view. But even still, that's even lacking.
Well, maybe because they're trying to keep themselves healthy and not hurt either. I mean, because think about it, like I would go all out every match myself if I could.
Right.
But imagine if they had to do that 3-4 times a week. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
But that's what wrestling was built on. That's why they don't want to make those stars anymore. I'm not knocking anybody or anything like that. It's just a different world now.
Right.
What are you listening to, porn?
That was your little buddy running by in the hallway.
All right.
Can we get a cameo?
I was trying to get him to come downstairs, but he just ran away.
We got to bring it back. We got to bring it back down to a G rating here.
I know. Last time Jamie popped up in the background, YouTube took my video and restricted it, and I had to argue with them over it.
What?
So, yeah, he made like a noise in the background and came on screen and said hi to whoever I was on, and then the next day after I uploaded, I got an email saying your video's been restricted. Why? What did I do? Nothing funny happened. So.
Because they probably thought you were listening to porn in the background, like Bull said.
I mean, you got your fish whipped out underneath there, or you don't see it, or what?
Nah, I do have I have no pants on. But anyways, that's. Hey, I just, it's from here. I'm lying, just for the record, but
But listen,
where are your hands?
I'm glad that the business is still going, and
right.
I mean. You ever watched the Beyond the Shadows, the documentary with Bret Hart?
That older one, right? Yeah.
It goes through the time where he was signed with WCW and all.
Wrestling with Shadows. Wrestling with Shadows.
He said a line. He actually said a line in there that said he can't wait to get out. Mm-hmm. I've said that myself. I mean, I'm at peace, but like I said, I was going to go 20 years and just probably call it, but then. Everything happened this year, and I got myself in shape, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll go another 25. I'll go 5 more years. So if I can reach 25, good. If I don't, I've already reached my original goal. So that's the way I look at it. As long as I'm still healthy and be able to have fun, I'm going to go another 5 years.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Hang on.
Wait, is it POV?
No. You guys are brutal tonight. Busting my.
I didn't say a word.
My chops. Hang on.
I heard moaning.
I thought you were busting yourself.
I went to go get my Tums, and I knocked over the camera. My bad.
I thought maybe you had.
This is a. What's that?
Have you ever been to any shows in Connecticut over the years? Any indie shows at all?
Andy.
I just frequented Long Island shows, and I did do some New Jersey shows, but I've never been to a Connecticut show.
Oh, okay. Which companies in Jersey?
A Jersey All Pro. I used to go to a lot of their shows.
I've been to one show there in the beginning. Tried to get to work there. It was at the ECW Arena, but they never called us. I was only a year in.
Okay.
There was a company out of Long Island that I did stuff for. No, wait, not Long Island. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Jersey. New Horizon. Does that ring a bell? New Horizon Pro Wrestling?
Sounds vaguely familiar, but it's not clicking. I'm not sure.
That was over 10 years ago. Man, there's so many people out right now. Damn. So many companies.
Yeah, the independent scene prior to the pandemic was really flourishing. There was all these random indies popping up.
It wasn't like that 15 years ago.
I remember, and I've discussed this on here before. It's like after all the major groups, WWF, WCW, and ECW, once WCW and ECW were gone, it's like we were in a very dark period for professional wrestling. You know what I mean? There was a lot of there was not a lot of indie shows. I mean, there was a few here and there in Connecticut. Obviously, Jason ran shows. What's the other group? Defiant Pro, I think, was one, right?
Defiant was a spin-off from Assault.
Yeah. And there was a couple others like here and there, but we weren't getting a lot of shows. I mean, I think Northeast was like the major one for the most part. But
I think
it was there's basically every week you can find a show in Connecticut. Basically, prior to the pandemic, but you were able to, like, in the last couple of years. It's just the business has changed.
I know Northeast just celebrated 25 years, so they were around 5 years before ACW started. I believe that Assault, what Jason's company brought was like made Connecticut the hotbed for indie wrestling because ECW was still fresh. Even though it went out of business, people still recognize and believe, new ECW. Right. So Jason used that, I believe, like I said, the ECW spin off from ACW. But I feel that it wasn't until Northeast ran Waterbury and just brought back wrestling, the big crowds, the legends, and I believe NEW did that, and I was happy. I feel like I was part of the big boom of NEW for 10 years, It's been a couple years I haven't done anything. It's going to be 2 years. I'm not, left some sour, taste in my mouth for a little bit, but I'm kind of over it, I'm kind of happy and kind of just behind me now, but I think, NEW is the place to be, honestly.
You were mentioned,
but that's even that little changed a little bit, but
you were mentioned on their was it their social media here and there in this over the summer. I guess it was talking about you and Ron. Yeah, they were doing like a tag team. What was it like doing some tag team thing where they were going like what was the greatest tag team in NEW history? You and Ron were listed as part of that as well. So.
Yeah, and I'm like, we were the first ones, and I'm surprised we didn't make it till the end. But I wish I'm thankful for that run. I mean, believe me, I am. I wish I've had made my changes. Physically a long time ago. Maybe it would have been a longer run. You know what I mean? But that was during the worst time of my life. Physically, mentally, I mean, obviously we evolve every day. I mean, we're in different times of our life, but I mean, I still cherish that because I'll always be the first NEW tag team champion.
Let me ask you. Now, I don't know if I'm off at all or if I'm just not remembering. Have you ever wrestled, Ron?
Yes.
Like one-on-one? Yeah.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. A few matches are on YouTube, even back when I first started in ACW.
Okay.
As far back as there's one when we clashed in CTWE, it was like a NEW special attraction match. Is when I, officially claimed myself the hardcore icon of Connecticut. But our very last match was when was NEW, and I had Kurt Adonis as my manager, and it was a street fight. I still have it on DVD. I'll watch clips of it every time when I went through a fucking table, threw it to the floor, threw it with a DDT. But if he won, he got 5 minutes with Kurt Adonis, and that's what happened. He got 5 minutes with him. I think that was the last time we actually, that was our last match versus each other. Ever since then, we were, dreaded dead or dead sexy. So, that's kind of one of the things that kind of left me speechless. It's like, when people see Ron, they think of me. Too, like where's Dredd, and vice versa. And so when people were seeing Ron in NEW and not seeing me, kind of be like, dude, I mean, kind of felt left out, But I mean, yeah, I'm hopefully if we get back together, one last run. Who knows what's going to happen,
Right. I'm surprised he's still working, right? He has some back injuries, right? Or was it knee injuries? Or both?
He has back injuries, but he had knee injuries. But, I mean, look, he's 50 years old,
Wow.
But as long as he still can go, he can still do stuff, just like I can,
Yeah. I saw him wrestle, I think, last summer, and he had a match with, what's his name? Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Wrecking Ball at the North Haven Fair.
I'm sure physically he's limited, not many things he can do. But I look at it this way: this pandemic this year has given me longevity. I've been able to rest my body, and I don't have to take bumps. I really don't need the bump. I could do it, but it's resting myself and taking care of health wise, myself other ways.
Right.
Keeping the pipes clean and the guns going. You know what I mean?
I think this might be the most explicit episode we've had so far. Maybe.
But it's fun.
Right, it is. I'm only kidding.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, we're going to only talk about wrestling, it's going to get boring.
Yeah.
Really fast.
As well. Yeah. I know. So, yeah. So, what else we got? We got all. I got all night.
Well, I got the pay-per-view coming up, and I mean, you saw me at the last show. I mean, I lost my temper.
You went sick on Maxim Morozov and went to town with that chair.
Yeah, he deserved it, but I got disqualified. But the most dangerous person in this world is someone that can control their anger. Obviously, I lost it, but January 2nd, I got God by my side, and I'm gonna prevail as the Intercontinental Champion. I mean, I'm not gonna go down. Not on my anniversary, not in 2021, baby.
I'm sorry that's not going to be an actual live event. That it's no fans in attendance, because it's just the lineup they announced it's going to be a really good lineup, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah,
it's
the first time in 20 years that I've been on internet pay-per-view. Still pay-per-view.
Yeah. I know a lot of people so far. I'm hoping that it gets a lot of traffic. Paradise Alley has a lot of really dedicated fans that are really in love with the going of the product. I've met a lot of great people there. Obviously, made some great friends there, and whether it be the fans or some of the workers.
Well, I told you. I mean, when we met, I know we've talked about it. The backstory. Yeah. I always wanted to go to PAPW. I thought it was a good fit for me. Because of Paul and Roma and Mario and Steve and Paul. Old school. And Mario will tell you, he said I would have fit in the 80s like a glove, in that locker room. And I feel that's who I am. I'm old school. And I always wanted to go there, but I always felt like I was chained down, and that was called loyalty. I always felt, because I was loyal to NEW, I felt like if I went, I would lose my spot.
Right.
But until I kind of I got let go, pretty much how I feel.
Okay.
I made the jump, and I was like, whatever. Now it's like, here's the thing. Like anything we want to do in life, it's like, you anticipate so many things or fear so many things, but then when you finally do it, you're like, what the fuck was I fearful of? Why was I scared?
Right.
So that's kind of like what happened, And because of that, I've made new fans, I made new friends. But like you said, the following, and it's been slowly building. I'm not going to take credit for anything like this, but what I'm about to say. But I kind of feel like since I've been there, maybe in the past year, it's changed. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the booking of the shows. I kind of feel like hopefully I've added to that, and talent-wise. But